This video explains how to set the general configuration in the AFC Fuel Control System AFC Administrator software. After launching the AFC Administrator software, you need to navigate to the configuration portion of the software. You can do that in two ways. The first way is to use the Setup Configuration menu and select AFC, or you can select the Configure AFC icon on the icon toolbar. This will open up the AFC configuration window. For the general configuration, you would select the General Config tab. On the General Config tab, you would then click Edit Record to allow you to change the settings for your fuel system. Site number, that is the number of this site as it will appear in your reports. Unit number, that is the unit number of the card reader on this site. Transaction number, this is the current transaction number in the fuel control system. If you wish to reset your transaction number to 1, you would put in transaction number 1 and check the box transmit transaction number. When the updates for these changes are then transmitted to the fuel control system, it will reset the transaction number to 1. Activation time and deactivation time, these are 24-hour clock times. If you wish to use these, you would set an activation time, which would be the starting time to allow fueling at the fuel site. Deactivation time, which is the time to stop fueling at the fuel site. Zeros in any box would disable these features. The Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3, and Shift 4 start times are also 24-hour clock times. These shift times come into play with your fuel types. When you go to your fuel types in the configuration, you will see a shift totalizer for each of the 4 shifts for your fuel type. What this does is allows you to keep ongoing totals for each of 4 separate time periods during the day for your fuel types. The idle prompt, you can program the idle prompt to say what you would want it to say. This is what will be displayed on the fuel control system display. Driver vehicle entry tries, you can input a number here to allow a maximum number of invalid driver or vehicle entries to the fuel system. If you wish to use this feature, the entry result drop-down box will allow you to either let them keep trying and have a transaction, fail the transaction, or deactivate the card that they're trying to use to fuel. The prompt timeout setting is a adjustable setting between 5 and 60 seconds. If this is the waiting time from the time that the fuel system display asks for an operator input and actually receives that input. If this time is expired, then that transaction terminates and starts all over again. Driver or vehicle allocation. If you're using allocation, which is prepaid fuel, you have the ability here to select whether that allocation gets deducted from the driver's department or from the vehicle's department. Allow inter-department fueling. If this box is checked, this will allow drivers from any department to fuel vehicles from any department. If this is unchecked, drivers and vehicles must be in the same department to be able to be fueled. The suppress date printing, suppress time printing, and suppress price printing checkboxes are for fields of the transactions that are printed on your log printer for the fuel control system. If these are checked, that data will not be printed on the log printer. Reset transaction number at midnight. If that box is checked, every midnight your transaction number in the fuel system would automatically reset back to transaction number 1. Driver entry on keypad transaction. If you are using keyless or cardless entries on your fuel control system, If you check this box, once you input a vehicle number on the keypad on the fuel system, it will then prompt you for a driver entry. If this box is not checked, it will not prompt for a driver. System ID number, starting location, card number, starting location, and secondary system ID number. These fields are used if you are using non-AFC cards in the fuel control system. In order to use other cards, those other cards must have a set of 4 digits that are the same number for all cards. The AFC fuel control system then can be set up to recognize those 4 digits as a secondary ID number. So you would tell the fuel control system at what location in the number on that card that system ID number starts, and at what location on that card the card number starts. Then those other cards could be used into a AFC fuel control system. Once all your changes have been made on this form, you would then use the transfer data menu and transmit updates to AFC. Once that is completed, any changes made on this form would then be active in the fuel control